Welcome to BP Leadership Podcast, where real leaders are made. I'm your host, Bill Purvis, and this is our second installation in our series, Back the Blue. This has been a great series, but today our guests are going to be Bill and Dawn Tooney, who have been working with the law enforcement together combined over 30 years. We're going to talk about some of the stories today that they have, how they got into law enforcement, and stories about when situations went wrong real quick, and about how even Bill made a mistake one time that could have ended very badly. And we're going to have a good time today talking to and getting to know law enforcement, some of the things that goes on behind the scenes that you don't get to hear about. So let's get started today. What is it that made you want to get into law enforcement first? Was there something that just you always wanted to do? Was it something that just came along later in life? Or how did you decide I want to get into law enforcement?
Bill, you go first.
All right, Dawn.
Myself, I was a stay-at-home mom for a while,
Mm-hmm.
and one of my church members that I went to church with before I started here
Right.
told me, he says, you know what, you probably would benefit from some adult conversations.
Mm-hmm.
He said, there's a course at the Columbus Police Department called the CLIA. It's Citizens Law Enforcement Academy is what it stands for. He says, I think you'd like it. So I signed up, and I went through the CLIA class, and on the day of graduation from that class, I told the lieutenant that was running the class, I said, is tomorrow morning, as soon as I sign this, I'm coming and I'm signing up. I loved the class so much,
Right.
I signed up immediately.
How about
And that
that?
was almost 18 years ago.
Wow, you've been with it ever since then, haven't you?
I sure have.
And you started at the bottom, but you worked your way up quite a
Yes,
ways.
sir, I have.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, I have.
That is cool.
Yeah, 14 years in patrol.
Wow.
Patrol, has a sweet spot in my heart for patrol.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thoroughly enjoying investigative work as well. There is
Right.
two separate animals.
Yeah.
Two separate animals.
Yeah, when you now in patrol, you were out there in the streets and with the people and all the rest, right?
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Wow, yeah, and that's the big thing. I think you got to have like eyes in the back of your head. And
Oh,
very
all
alert.
around your head. Yeah, because nothing is ever routine. You
Yeah.
hear people say, oh, it's a routine traffic stop. It's a routine call. No big deal. It's a welfare check. Nothing is routine.
Yeah.
You always have to be on your P's and Q's because things can change in a moment.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Split second.
When I watch some of these videos, like even that church shooting we saw the other day,
Mm-hmm.
you just see how quickly everything goes from it seems to be normal to all of a sudden. And
Yeah.
I think that guy reacted like in 6 seconds. But
Yeah.
and I know y'all have got to be able to assess and make quick judgments. And you know, I knew a guy that was a detective that told me one time. He said, when I walk in the room, he said, it's just nature. I know where I'm sitting. I can count where the doors are. I can see if anybody looks suspicious. He said, I don't mean to, but he said, I know that room better than people that work there in a matter of seconds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
second nature.
Yeah.
You got to do that. I do it all the time.
Wherever you go. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that'd be the same. All right, and now, Bill, when you got into it, how'd you get it? Was it something you chose to do that you want to do all your life? Or
Well, actually, I never really thought about it until after I joined the military, and just the brotherhood of being in the military.
Yeah.
You know, working with a group of folks, knowing that they got your back, and then always felt like I needed to try to give back, try to serve, help people.
Right.
And then I got out of the Army. I came down to Columbus, and they hired me, went through the training, and that's how I got started.
Wow. How many years you been there?
Going on 30 years.
Whoa.
Yeah.
God. And you were in the Navy before then, weren't you?
I did 4 years in the Navy. I was a firefighter in the Navy, and then 7.5 in the Army on Fort Benning.
Okay.
So I
And-
had a lot of fun.
Yeah. And did you ever work the streets the same way, the patrol stuff?
I did. Actually, I kind of got fast-tracked, if you will. I was in patrol for only about 2.5 years, and then I went to what we call our TAC squad. They're the ones that you got. I think at the time we had 25 of us in TAC, and we just hit the drug areas,
Right.
the stopping cops and just the drug areas. We didn't do patrol unless we were shorthand on the street, but we did all hit the bad neighborhoods, high crime areas. And then at that point was when I was in there for about 2.5 years. And that's where I learned how to chase folks in the tax squad.
And he can chase in his cowboy boots.
No, you learned how to so you can track them down.
Yeah, track them down, just run them down. And then I went from there to Metro, which is the multi-jurisdictional drug unit that Columbus had. And I was there for, almost 15 years. I worked drugs, narcotics for most of my time down there.
Wow.
And then I went to family violence unit and then auto theft. Now I'm back in the special ops unit, which is the Columbus's drug unit.
Wow.
So I'm back in there.
And every bit of that sounds dangerous. I mean, whether it's from the street, from the patrol side, to the drug side, to the SWAT side.
It's like I was talking with Hunter a little bit ago. In my opinion, she spend more time in patrol, but you're absolutely right. You got to have eyes in the back of your head and everything. But in my opinion, it's all inherently dangerous. You put that uniform on, or you work law enforcement. It's all dangerous. But to me, patrol is more dangerous than. Like I'm on the SWAT team. I know when I plan a mission, I know what to expect to a certain degree, how we're going to hit the house or whatever the mission is. As far as also working undercover, you know you got a crew that you give a certain code word. If you get into trouble, you know they're monitoring what's going on. You know you got backup right there. In patrol, you do a traffic stop at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's just you out there, unless you're
I can see that. Yeah, I can see because you be planning on the other things. You get time to plan, prepare, to think in advance, to figure out all the ways it could go wrong. Whereas on a patrol, you have no idea.
Split second decisions.
Yeah. Now, have you ever been in those cases where that happened, where something turned quickly?
Oh, more times probably than not.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And
well. I've been dragged twice by vehicles.
No.
Yes, and I, not so much as a traffic stop, but what we call a first tier stop, where you talk to somebody and why what are you doing? What's your name? And I had an individual that I did that with, and while I was running his information, dispatch told me that he was a wanted individual. And I had planned that, for him to reach for his license back. And once he did, I was going to grab him and handcuff him. And it didn't quite work out like that. I am not a small child, and he threw me around like a rag doll.
Wow.
I lost 3 layers of skin on this arm and spent the next 2 or 3 hours in the hospital washing out the asphalt all over myself. But
good night.
Yeah, and that wasn't expected.
Yeah, and you were by yourself working that one?
Well, I had a rookie with me, and he was learning.
Okay.
So.
Wow. Yeah. He got an education that day, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
Now, how did it finally end? Did the backup come, or did you have to?
We yelled for backup, but the individual came out of his clothing. As I was holding on, he came out and took off running. And I think and this has been several years ago, I believe he ended up getting caught later down the road.
Oh, okay.
Not at that moment. He got away from us.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, that'd be the bad thing when things turn that quick and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
And now, have y'all ever been shot at? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
How close did that come?
The one years ago with us, back when we was in tax squad, we was at area projects, and we did our sweep through there, and we actually parked our cars. Yeah, I guess I can talk about it. If we parked the cars, got on foot, and walked in there, well, on our way back, that's when they shot at us.
Wow.
And of course, I tell you what, I crawled up the exhaust pipe of my car.
Yeah.
I see the flashes and everything, and saw a bunch of kicking over fire out, man. We all started scrambling to get out.
I would think.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised how small you can make yourself at that time.
Yeah. And what's crazy, you would think, I guess, when they do that, there's no thought about what they're going to do with their life or the future. They don't care. They're already shooting at a policeman.
Yeah. They don't. With me, one of the eye-opening thing that really got me was I was a rookie officer, just got released, and I get a call I'm still learning the codes.
Right.
Like I know everybody knows what 10-4 is, but we got certain codes that we get dispatched to it, and I did everything wrong. as a rookie officer to a domestic disturbance and shots fired. So I'm like, okay, so I get there, everything wrong, parked in front of the house. You don't do that.
Oh.
You park back, you're supposed to listen.
Right.
Wait for your backup to get there. I didn't do that. I go walking up to the house, you know, and as soon as I got on the front porch, I'm like, oh, they said they had guns here.
Yeah.
So I put my back against the wall and rang the doorbell. And the way the house was set up is like there's a ranch-style house and then it bumped out where the carport was. So I put my back against the wall and wouldn't answer the door, and I kind of stepped out and I looked to my right. I'm facing the street now, and I looked to my right to see if anybody was over there. It wasn't. So when I looked back to my left, old boy had a shotgun in the living room window, just sitting there, aimed at me with a shotgun. So I stepped back against the wall, and knowing if he'd have fired, it wouldn't have got me just from the angle because I was on the same wall. So when he stepped back, I jumped off the porch, ran behind his truck he had in a driveway. And of course, I got on the radio. I started screaming and carrying on, and you get my backup here. Well, I heard my backup. Sirens kicked in and everything, so he got up there. We wound up getting him. You know, he came out of when I jumped off the porch, got behind his truck. You know, you can hear the cavalry coming.
Wow.
When you like that, you hear the sirens. You know your backup is on the way. So he eventually came out into the carport, sat down on the tailgate of his truck and told him, you're under arrest and all this. And then I think his brother showed up and was like, dude, you know, get back. We're trying to handle this. And we wound up, we got him. Yeah. So, but it was, you know what, what really opened my eyes to or really got me? When it was all going on, once I realized what I did and everything kicked in. But when I got home, I was on evening shift. Yeah, I was on evening. So I got home about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. Laying in bed, that's when it hit me.
It hit you then, doesn't it?
I like, whoa.
Yeah.
You know, it was like I stayed awake. I didn't sleep very well that night because I realized, man, he could have got me any time. Yeah, that's the and I know that's that kind of. I had that same experience in a few ways, not being shot at, but like I remember one time a guy dove off of this. We were out playing as kids, and he dove and hit a rock and broke his legs, his knees, bones came to his knees, and a bunch of us guys, we were hanging out, and they just started going, ooh, and I saw he was drowning, so I dove in and helped him and pulled him out, and then some guys fishing got him. And I remember as we was walking up the road, my friends started saying, man, I was just so caught up in how bad it was. I couldn't believe how you reacted. And then as I thought about it, I had to sit down. My face turned as white. Yeah. And I was like, I didn't realize in the moment what was going on. But after you look at it, you think, what in the world? And and I can imagine that's just that post. Yeah. You were acting before you had a chance to think about it. Yeah. And then when you thought about it, you said, what in the world? Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. It's all about muscle memory. Yeah. You learn the tools of your trade, and you learn them so well that you don't have to think about how to do them. Yeah. You just do them. Yeah.
All right, that was part one of Bill's conversation with Officers Bill and Dawn Tuning right here on the BP Leadership Podcast in our series, Back the Blue. And in part two of this conversation, you get even more in-depth stories on their time in law enforcement, like Bill's time in the SWAT team and Dawn's run-in with a man who was just high on drugs, standing in the middle of the road with a big old blade just swinging it around. Crazy, crazy story about that run-in and how that whole thing went down that I promise you do not want to miss. So make sure you stay in the loop by subscribing to this podcast as well as hitting the bell if you're on YouTube so that you can get notified as soon as part two airs, because I guarantee you do not want to miss that. So make sure that you do that so that you can stay in the loop on these podcasts as we release them moving forward. And lastly, don't forget, we've got a really cool website, a new and improved website I mentioned in a few episodes back. Go to bpleadership.com. We've got a lot of really cool things that we've got going on here other than just this podcast. So check us out, see what we got going on and the cool things that we're doing on our website, bpleadership.com. So glad you guys joined us today. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button so that you can get notified when the second part of this conversation airs. And as always, remember that this is where real leaders are made.